Hey kids, TaviRider here. In my last video I attacked the subject of spawners with the weapons of science. Now I've applied the lessons from that to make a simple, reliable XP grinder. An XP grinder is a mostly automated system for getting lots of XP, which you can use for high-level enchantments. This one is based on a skeleton spawner, so you also get arrows and bones for bone meal. The skeletons spawn in here, drop down into the water, and they get pushed towards this drain. The drain pushes them underneath and out to here, where they swim up this water ladder, and then they reach the top and bump each other off this cliff down into the collection room. And in there you can start beating them up and getting all your XP. Now you may immediately wonder, why don't we just have them drop down here and run into cactus blocks or use pistons to kill them? The problem there is you don't get the XP. You have to be the one to kill a monster in order to get XP from them. So maybe your next question would be, why don't we just have them collect here and you start swinging your sword and damaging them? Well, first of all, you might accidentally break your mob grinder. The problem is that you will wear out your weapon very, very quickly, and you'll also get very, very hungry, because every time you damage a mob, your hunger bar goes down a little bit. So what we have in here instead is a place where all of these skeletons get collected, and they've almost died from the fall. They're just barely alive, and you can hit them with anything. You want to avoid using a weapon so you don't wear it out, and every time you hit, you get one dead skeleton and your XP orbs. So that was just the right height to have them drop, and that took a little experiment that I'm going to show you here to figure out the right height to have them fall in order to be just barely alive. Well, undead, whatever skeletons are. So here we have a rig, we have our skeleton subject, and we push him for a 23 block fall. He took damage at the bottom, but he survived, and now if I poke him in the eye, he dies, and we get our 3 XP orbs. So 23 blocks looked about right. If we make it a 24 block fall, we drop him in, another subject in there, and he falls, and when he hits, he dies from the fall. And notice we've got the drops there, but there's no XP orbs. So 24 was too far of a fall. Now we can also make this 21 blocks by putting a couple other layers on top, get our subject loaded up, push him off, and he took the damage and survived, and now when I poke him in the eye, well, he just gets angry. And now I have to hit him a second time before he dies and we get our XP orbs. So 21 blocks is too short of a fall. By the way, if you try 22 blocks at this height, it's inconsistent. Sometimes it takes one hit to kill them, sometimes it takes 2. So 23 blocks fall is the right height from there. And now let me show you some of the design of the spawner area. So there's a couple of blocks of stone on top of the spawner. I put those there to keep skeletons from spawning on top of that, because when they do, sometimes they jump off, and that jump gives them just a little bit of extra height that they take damage when they hit the water. And then they have a little bit of damage, and they can't survive the fall at this end. So to keep from wasting skeleton spawns, I just plug that spot. Now let me show you, this is kind of hard to see with it being so dark and all the stones, so let me replace the stone in there with glass, and now you can see in here a little bit better. So what we learned in my last video is that the spawn area around the spawner is 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks in each side, to each side, so 1, 2, 3, 4 to this side, and it's the same thing here. So the horizontal space is good, and it's also 2 blocks above and below. So there's 1, 2 blocks above and 2 below. So the skeletons will spawn in this zone, and you won't miss out on any chances to spawn a skeleton other than that one little plug that we had to put there. The water has to be channeled a little further out than the spawn room, so we have this just one high layer going out to the side, and these are all the source blocks in the end. The source blocks just barely run out right at the central trough. So there's that arrangement on the left side and the same thing on the right side here. This is source blocks all the way down the edge, and then they just barely run out at the central trough. Then down here, there's a source block here at one end of the trough, and then it goes all the way over here. I know it doesn't look like it's running out because of the way Minecraft does water, but it just barely runs out and drops down, and then it goes over here to the water ladder. Now here, there's a little bit of a puddle there, and then a sign, and then a source block, and it alternates signs and source blocks all the way to the top. A skeleton that gets here will try to swim up, and he'll just barely catch the source block above him, and he'll gradually swim all the way up to the top. Now, why do you need to alternate source blocks and signs? Well, the weird thing is, if you put a source block here and just have it go straight down, the skeletons will swim up it, but they'll drown. Don't ask me why undead skeletons that have no lungs or other tissues have to breathe, but that's what would happen. They would drown. So they come up here. There's another source block here, and then one block for it to flow over so that the skeletons get moved towards this ledge, and a sign to stop it, and then a long fall. Now, why don't we just have the fall right here? That's because the skeletons will swim up a tiny little bit in this water, and then they'll take a slightly longer fall and they'll die. So instead we just have this little staging area right there, and we can just show that when we put in the right number of skeletons, the one in front gets bumped off to his eventual doom. So that's all of the arrangement of the water. Let me show you something about this room. When you get in here and start beating up on them, you can't reach all of the drops that they have. Now, if we knocked out these blocks here, you can get to them, but sometimes skeletons falling down here will actually be able to shoot you as they're falling. So to keep it safe, we keep that up there, and just let the drops sit there. We'll solve that problem in a second, but I want to show you also, if you hit them, you can get hundreds of skeletons in here, and you will still use up quite a large amount of hunger killing them all. So we use my favorite method, a splash potion of healing. Now, because these are undead, healing actually hurts them. So with one splash potion, we can kill all of them at once, because they're all almost dead, or almost undead, or whatever they are. So we got all of that XP coming out of it, and we have all of these drops, and we still can't reach all the drops. And rather than knocking out those blocks to get in, I have a little system here with some pistons. This button will kill any skeletons that are in there and then retrieve the drops that are stuck inside. So we press the button. Very simple. It's just a couple of pistons. Let me show you the circuitry outside. This is the signal from the button. It goes up here to push these upper two pistons that will kill any skeletons in there, and then there's also a split here that goes this lower way with a little bit of delay, so that just after the skeletons are killed, it pushes the drops out onto the platform and you can pick them all up. So that's the pickup area, or the place where the player sits. Now there's a couple other details that we have to worry about from skeleton spawners, or any kind of spawner, and that is the range that the first problem is the range within which the spawner watches for too many skeletons, and it's 8 blocks in each direction from this point. So we know that it's 4 blocks inside, and then another 1, 2, 3, 4. So as long as skeletons get past this point, we know that the spawner will not suppress a spawn cycle because there's too many skeletons nearby. So we could have maybe had the water ladder here, but I was worried that the skeletons would actually just move around and still just barely poke out into the range that the spawner looks for. So I have the water ladder right here at, I believe it's 10 blocks. The other issue that you have to worry about with spawners is that the player has to be within a 16-meter radius of the spawner. So like I did last time, we can make a hollow sphere out of glass that's 16 blocks in radius, or 16 meters. And it kind of does a number on my my room here. It knocks the door off and the buttons go on and things like that. But you can see in this room, the glass is outside of the player. So the player is within that range, so the spawner is going to keep spawning. That's why we don't just have a 23 block fall from right here going down into the ground, because then the player would have to be down there and the spawner would stop spawning. Now, one last little interesting detail. Because you're in this room, you are safe if we undo that glass. With an iron door right here, there won't be any monsters getting into this collection room. You have some lighting, so nothing's going to spawn in here. They wouldn't spawn this close to you anyway. And we have just our button to pick up all the drops. So what you can do is safely sit in here and wait for skeletons to arrive here damaged. You can walk away from your computer and wait for all the skeletons to arrive. So So that's about it. That is the reliable XP grinder. My next video I'm going to show you exactly step by step how to make one of these once you've found one. I know that this is a reliable system. I used it in my hardcore world when I was finally able to kill the Ender Dragon. It's not that difficult or risky to build if you do it the right way. And it does also work with the updated AI of Minecraft 1.2. So hopefully you'll find this useful. Watch out for my next video. If you like these kinds of videos, please subscribe and comment and tell me what kinds of things you'd like me to do videos on. Thanks for watching.